Hello and welcome back to another Perth Hills Women in Business in Focus. And this time we're talking to Pip Windsor, who runs Physio to Breathe, which is a strange juxtaposition for me, physio and breathing. So we're going to be talking to Pip to find out more about that. My co-presenter is Morgan Holmes from UnlockingU, and I'm Kate from Colour Me Kate. So welcome, Pip. Thanks for talking to us.
You for inviting me, Kate. Or did I put my name forward? I can't remember.
You might have put your hand up and then we grabbed you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We tend to do that. We're like,
yeah.
Do you want to? Do you want to? And when someone says yes, we don't let them go.
You don't let them go, no.
Yeah, especially when it's going to be, especially when it's going to be a really interesting person. So ironically, you are just a couple of walls away from me, aren't you?
Yes.
We're in the same
loudly
building.
and wouldn't need this, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. So we should tell people we are at number 2 Montrose Avenue in Darlington, and I have my shop here, and Pip has her practice in this building as well. So Pip, let's get on to you. What do you do and why?
Right. So I am a physio, and for the last 30 years, I have been working in the area of dysfunctional breathing. So it does sound a bit odd. And I think the easiest way of describing it is probably to say it is, so people will come and see me who have got some sense of discomfort around their breath. So if anyone has had any contact with physios to do with breathing, it's generally the old-fashioned was pitter-pats on the back to clear your lungs. So there's a lot of physio that is involved in, we call it cardiorespiratory. That's people that have had lung infections, been in hospital, or for a whole load of reasons. So they are respiratory disease. So I do see a few people with respiratory disease, but somebody that might be sent to me from a respiratory doctor might be, the doctor says, this person has had lots of tests. This is what it shows. There's a little bit of mild lung disease, but they are breathless, way out of proportion to that disease. Or the majority of people have absolutely nothing wrong with their lungs, but they have a sense of, I can't get enough air in, or it's hard to breathe out, or I just feel like I need a top up. People have noticed that I sigh all the time, and I'm just not getting enough oxygen, and my nose, I cannot get enough air through my nose. I've been a mouth breather forever. Or it could be somebody that's saying, I'm playing my sport and I should be just as fit as all the people I play sport with, but I can't breathe. So, or it might be I'm super anxious and I have panic attacks, and I've been to see a psychologist and I've gone through all that I need to go through, but I still am feeling like this. Or it could be somebody that just says, I'm a bit curious about my breathing because I have read this, or I've done this technique and I've done this technique and it's really stuffed me up. Or I'm just interested, or I've seen quite a few athletes who just want to improve their performance. So this is like all ages. Seeing a lot of younger children now who have a chronic cough. So it's just a dry, irritable cough. Again, can't breathe, nothing wrong. So it can be a long journey of chest pain, chest tightness, dizziness, lightheadedness. Doctor sends them to every specialist out there. It comes back. Nothing wrong, nothing wrong, nothing wrong, nothing wrong. And by that time, they're in an awful state because these symptoms are horrible. Horrible. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So presumably when you decided that you were going to go and study physiotherapy, that was fairly broad. And I'm not suggesting that you are old at all, Pip, but this interest or awareness of the importance of breathing, was that around when you studied?
It was starting to be around.
Because we're only just really hearing about it up. So you're way ahead of the curve.
So this is 1970s. So I was very, very young then. And And so there was a physio, and so it started off in the Papworth Hospital in England, which is a specialist chest and heart hospital. And the doctors there were noticing, look, we're noticing a lot of our patients who have very disproportionate breathing symptoms compared to their illness. And then a physio started putting together some breathing exercises. But we used to call this hyperventilation syndrome because, as bizarre as it sounds, one of the most common things people do is breathe way too much. So they chronically hyperventilate. And it's not like a hyperventilate, panic attack, get a paper bag. This is a constant overbreathing that you are not aware of, because your only symptom might be, I'm not getting enough air, which is so odd, you know. And if your brain's telling you you need more air, you're not going to go, oh, I must be breathing too much then. So it's a very hard thing to sort of self-correct. So it used to be called soldier's heart, and it was the soldiers returning from the Civil War in America. I think they first found it, so, you know, years ago, and they discovered that they had chest pains and difficulty breathing and what we would probably now call PTSD, you know. They're coming back, and then they eventually started looking at, because they had no issues in terms of disease or whatever, so they eventually started looking at their carbon dioxide levels, which is the stuff that we produce when we're exercising, and it's the stuff that we blow way too much out if we're over breathing. And they were noticing these people were constantly hyperventilating, and that upsets your whole body.
So are there links to, you know, obviously people in a threat response, fight, flight, freeze, and therefore that's, you know, everything's going a bit faster. So have you seen an increase in stuff related to different mental health aspects that have become greater, I would say, particularly since COVID and things like that? It seems to have become more prominent.
Yeah. COVID brought breathing into everybody's awareness. And you know, obviously long COVID as well. Anxiety, these horrible things. Oh, there's my children.
No, there's your family. Hello,
they're gorgeous.
Those horrible things then.
Not children, just phones. Agree.
Yeah, phones, because that's how people are spending their downtime.
Yeah.
Because we're not moving anymore, are we? We're just sitting rather than actually physically moving. Yeah.
And so I think, like, because it is hard to get your head around sometimes. And I saw a lady this morning who is just going, what? But I think to normalize it, physios work with people who have got movement patterns that have gone out of whack because of stress. So if we take that movement pattern down to the legs, and let's say you've broken your leg and you get put in a cast, that is a stress. You will change the way you're moving, and that will be highly appropriate because that's how you move under stress. You're in pain, you need to get off that leg, and then it repairs. And then the cast comes off, and now you're not going to go running off and walking normally. Then you're going to be still you're probably going to be unfit and deconditioned because you've been avoiding exercise because you've had to. But also those muscles are going to be moving in a different way. And that can become your habit unless you see somebody. And then it starts causing problems downstream. But if you go and see a physio, they'll go, well, look at the way you're walking. It's no wonder your back hurts. Or we need to be moving those muscles properly again. And then they move their muscles properly again, and all is well. So it's exactly the same with breathing. Your breathing pattern changes under stress. And if this is a brief moment of stress where you've got a snotty nose and a bad cold, you're probably going to be fine. Or if it's a one-off incident where you go into your stressy breathing, which is mouth, fast, big, upper chest breaths, and then you're fine. But if you've got a cumulative or a long-term stress, that pattern is going to become your normal because it's a habitual pattern that is not going to change unless you change it. So that's every muscle in your trunk, in your torso, is involved in breathing. And so, you know, that can then disrupt everything. So we sort of put breathing into 3 dimensions. There's the straightforward thing. Are you getting enough oxygen, and what are your carbon dioxide levels? So that is basically saying, you're breathing absolutely fine in terms of your oxygen, because that doesn't really change. But what are your CO2 levels? So that's your chemical side of breathing. So that tells us, are you over breathing, under breathing, or breathing just right? And that affects the pH of your blood. We don't need to go too much into that, but we can if you're interested. Then there is, what muscles are you using to pull that air in and out of your body? And are you using the right muscles at the right timing, in the right place, in the right way? So is your breathing pattern efficient for what you are doing right now? Because that's what a normal breath is. A normal breath is one that satisfies the needs of the body at any moment in time, depending on what you're doing. So it's flexible and adaptable and efficient. And then the third one is the brain and the nervous system. And that is a big one. So how we breathe can affect our nervous system really strongly. So we can breathe as if we're under stress, even when we're not. And that is the sort of habit breathing. And that can then make us under stress, because how we are moving down here, those messages are going up to our brains all the time. And that part of your brain that's only concerned with, are we okay, are we okay, is going to be monitoring what's coming up. And if we're breathing as if we're under stress, we're sending messages going, well, all is not well down here, we're in trouble, we're in stress. And so breathing can regulate that, because we can then change how we move to then send messages going back up going, we're safe. And that's all part of retraining that breathing. So then you change where you breathe, and that settles that down. So your sense of, is a breath comfortable or not, is not to do with what's going on in your lungs. It's to do with how your brain's interpreting that. So and that's what people find really quite hard when we try and change a breathing pattern. If we go from breathing up here to breathing with your prime breathing muscle, your diaphragm, all this evidence that your brain's feeling of movement up here is now taken away, and people can get really distressing air hunger and panicky feelings when they feel like they're not getting enough air. So
we should be breathing into our diaphragm, which is lower down. It's not up here. We should be breathing almost into our stomachs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing, Kate.
Oh God.
So if you are at Darlington Running Club, didn't see you there this morning, 6 o'clock Friday morning on the Oval, which is obviously why I'm here.
You're on an improvement drive.
I don't take fees. If you're going flat out sprinting, then of course you want your helpers. You want to get big breaths, and they're going to be fast, and but if you're sitting in a chair, then that's not the way to breathe, because you'll be hyperventilating and getting into all sorts of strife. So it's adaptable. So right now, all three of us are sitting down, so we should not be able to hear ourselves breathe. It should be completely silent, and it should be in and out through the nose. And I
wouldn't dare breathe out of my mouth when you're around. I always clamp my mouth shut whenever I see Pip.
It's a bit like wearing black around Kate. It's the same thing as wearing black around Kate.
It is so much like that.
Okay. Yes. So it's like payback.
Yeah.
What I've been struck by what you've been saying, Pip, was a couple of things. One is how, our body and our brain is so amazing at quickly creating patterns and habits, because I work with mindset and beliefs and things like that. Yeah. And you see the same thing. We create mindsets and thought patterns that serve us at a time when we need them, and they're there for good reason. But our brain is so clever at making that, okay, that's the pattern, that's the way you're doing this now. Then we hang on to it for too long, and then it blocks us. It doesn't serve us anymore. And you're talking about
yes,
exactly the same thing from a physical perspective, but the linkage is obviously into all that other stuff. So that struck me. And then the other thing was, I once was helping out a lady who was a voice coach with her business, and I was talking to her about projecting my voice more. Now, most people would say, Morgan, your voice is loud enough, you don't need to project it. But we were talking about that, and she talked to me about breathing and all these things, and started me on some exercises around trying to breathe better, which was breathing into my stomach. And that whole thing of, when you breathe in, push your stomach out rather than hold it, I don't know, it's hard. I found it really hard.
Right. So yeah, so that's the first thing, like it shouldn't be, and there should be no pushing involved. So again, if we're leaning back in our chairs, our head should be just wobbling around on top of our neck.
Yeah, okay, we can do that.
Helium head, and our shoulders should be completely relaxed, and our belly should just be flopping around there, hanging out, doing absolutely nothing.
Which as women, we're taught to do the opposite. We're taught to suck it
Yes.
in and breathe out
Exactly.
here.
Yes, because of the corset. Well, not just because
Yes.
of the
Oh,
corset,
yes.
but yeah, because people used to pass out wearing corsets.
Yes.
When Mr. Darcy would come into the room. But that wasn't because of him. That was because they were hyperventilating. So you blow off your CO2 because you're over breathing. So you're blowing off more CO2 than you are producing. And you will cause smooth muscle constriction, which is smooth muscle wraps around our tubes. So that's our airways and our blood flow. So you're reducing the blood to your brain, reducing the oxygen to the brain, faint, pass out. And this is what people are going through, those sort of symptoms, like constantly. But yeah, so there's no pushing. Okay, so
but
we're fully supported, our muscles are fully relaxed, and what that means is we're allowing our diaphragm to actually flatten. So your diaphragm, if you think about your torso as a house, so upstairs we have our heart and lungs, and our lungs are massive, like right up above our collarbones, right down really basically where our ribs are. And then we have our squishy bits down in your downstairs, which is your abdomen. So there's all that, behind our abdominal wall. And then we've got, it has to have a floor to separate it out, doesn't it? Otherwise they get into all sorts of, we don't want them meeting them, no. So we've got this division. And so that is your diaphragm, like it completely cuts you in half. And it is like one of those big, it's like a parachute or like one of those big jellyfish you see in the Swan River. When you're kayaking,
When I'm what?
When you're kayaking in the Swan River and you see these.
After my run. Yeah.
Anyway, so what happens is this diaphragm, just all you need for your gentle resting breath, which is silent in and out through the nose, is a very gentle, like a few centimeters of that diaphragm lowering down into your abdomen, pushing out whatever's in the way. And then back up again. So your exhale is a really important part of your breath cycle. And that's what I often have to say to people, like, you will never not breathe in enough.
Yeah.
But the exhale is something that is, people hang on to air. They breath hold, they stack breaths on top of each other, and they just forget to breathe out. And that long exhale is part of what we call our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest, digest, repair, immune boosting, anti-inflammatory zone of calm and recovery.
Wow, I'm glad we're not tested on this.
So it is a completely passive exhale. It just falls out of our nose because you get this elastic recoil of everything, and it just falls out of your nose. And then there's a pause at the end, and then you let the next one come in. So it's just like a wave washing up a beach. You let your breath out, it just fizzles out, there's a pause, and then in comes the next one. So all you should feel is a tiny, tiny movement of your tummy. So we don't want anything going on up here. So it's like it has gears. That's ticking along in petrol. And then if you do a bit more, you get a little bit more of that movement of your ribs. If you do a bit more, you get a little bit more. And then if you're really exercising hard, then you come up here and open your mouth.
So what can we do? Are there any tips or tricks that you can give us? What can we do to help us break that habit if we have become mouth breathers?
Yeah, your mouth.
Okay,
so first of all,
is that all those tape things that you see people have on?
Oh God, yes.
Okay, we shouldn't. Okay, let's just pretend I didn't say that. Don't go there. It's okay. Ignore that.
No, but we do have to be really, really safe. And we have ear, nose, throat specialist doctors who, if you need to get a visual down your nose and down to your upper airway. to just check everything's fine up there. So if you can't breathe through your nose, the first thing to establish is that habit, or are you seriously obstructed? So there's a lot of people that have deviated septums, but that's,
Yes.
and if one nostril is permanently blocked, that can be an issue. But a deviated septum is not going to stop you breathing through your nose at rest. But what it will mean is if you then start exercising, you will probably need to switch to mouth breathing before somebody with a big, excellent, wide hooter, that's structurally really good. They'll probably be able to switch to mouth breathing a lot later on in the piece. But that's not, so you've got to think, is my nose, do I feel like I'm not getting enough air because it's snotty, or just restricted? And if it's just restricted, it's probably because you're just fighting to pull that air in. So again, that drive to breathe is way over and above what you need. So this is one of my little magical pieces of equipment that a lot of people have after COVID now in their homes. But this is something that I put on people's fingers that gives their saturations of oxygen in their blood. So because your brain goes straight to, I'm not getting enough oxygen if you feel like you're not getting enough air. But your oxygen levels are going to be absolutely fine unless you have some serious disease process going on. So you've got to get used to using your nose, and there are helps that you can do. So you can get these little strips that help hold your nose open. You can get little nostril.
Yeah.
So all those things can help you get a better sense that you are breathing through your nose.
Yeah.
A lot of people I'll get them on this machine. So there's a little carbon dioxide biofeedback machine I've got, so I pair that with this, so I can show people that when they're breathing through their nose, so I get these little tubes that stick just inside the nostrils, and I can show them when they're breathing through their nose, they're hyperventilating and their oxygen levels are fine. So that appeals to your frontal part of your brain,
evidence,
logical
part of your brain.
rational.
Okay. So look, your nose is doing a fabulous job. It's even allowing you to hyperventilate through it. So, and you literally just have to break that habit. But particularly with children, you have got to establish that there are not big adenoids, those lymph tissues sat in their nostril, nor are there big tonsils.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. And if you do have a child that snores, they need to have a good, like a examination there of whether they've got tonsils and adenoids.
Yeah.
I won't go into that.
Yeah. So if you haven't got what do you call that little pinchy thing?
It's a pulse oximeter. Don't go out and buy them because it'll make we don't want hypervigilance.
No. So if you haven't got one of those, and most people won't in their homes, are there other little reminders? And I'm thinking back to somebody who I know that you saw some time ago, and they had a little tip that they came home with and could very easily see things around their house.
Do you mean, Kate, my stop, drop, flop stickers?
Yes, I do.
Yes. So when we're trying to, because we're basically retraining your brain to just calm down and be happy with you getting enough air, you're getting enough.
And to break a habit.
Yeah. And so the stop, drop, flop stickers are going to go up all around your house where you can see them. And whenever you see that, the stop is check, mouth, lips gently together, close your mouth. The drop is going to be your shoulders. And the flop is going to be just let go, breathe out. So just top to toe, quick body scan for tension, exhale, pause, hand on the belly, and just make sure that you've dropped down and then get on with your day. So those are the really sort of quick action ones, because no one's got time to just go, I'm just going to lie down for 30 minutes in the middle of the workplace. And then you need to spend time just retraining these muscles. And we can do muscle strengthening for the diaphragm, and we can do all sorts of things. But it's about desensitizing that need.
And the more
and people's sensitivity, you could not be hyperventilated, you could have absolutely perfect scores, but still be feeling acute air hunger. So it's not all about that, but it's just about that need for air that comes from stress. And if you've had an incident in your life that has involved breath or lack of, you're so near drowning or choking or severe asthma attacks, or you've witnessed an asthma attack, your sense of needing to be protected is going to be way, way higher than someone who hasn't had that. So when you start to feel breathless, you're going to go much more into that sort of panic.
Yeah.
Because your nervous system is now being protected. So it works exactly like pain. You're going to feel more pain in an area that has had a damage before, not because there's anything wrong now, because it's healed up, but because the brain goes, oh yeah, I remember that. And it's going to send pain as protection. And breathlessness is a protection as well. We know it's not reliable all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the personal Pip, the private Pip?
Oh, no.
Is there anything that you can share with us so we can get to know you better that not many people might know about you?
It's a really hard question. I just thought, oh my God, I am so boring.
Oh, come on.
There is nothing.
Must be.
Well, the only
does.
Okay, I did spend when I was in 1993. I was between jobs and I went out to Romania. At the time when Romania was a communist country, and Ceausescu had been done away with, that evil dictator, and the awareness of Romanian orphanages had
yes.
And do you remember that? It was just, do you remember?
Yes, I remember all the footage of those children.
Yes. And so I went over there and spent a few months in Romania working in the orphanages, which was yes, could never do that after having children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that reminded me of that, which is actually very coincidental because it was this morning and I was going, was something popped up with what's happening now to these children. Because Romania, of course, now is part of the EU, so it's dramatically changed. But yes, that was something that was pretty changing.
What an amazing experience.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
On so many levels. Yeah. That's it. And then I came back from there and had a working holiday in Australia.
Yes, much easier. Yeah. What's one of the biggest challenges you've overcome being a woman in business?
Right. Nothing to do with being a woman, just being a really terrible promoter of what I do, because I have come from working in a lovely team NHS. Like the NHS in the UK has its faults, but they do teamwork so well, multidisciplinary teamwork. And, we were in a little group treating dysfunctional breathing. It's a whole community. We got waiting lists. People are thankful they're just coming in. So there's no promotion. Like no one needs to promote. We've got so the waiting lists are horrendous. Anyway, then I come over here and I go, oh, my breathing physio friends, and there were plenty of respiratory physios, but no one was doing dysfunctional breathing. So this is about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot now with training people.
Yeah. You are the leader, are you not, in dysfunctional breathing here in Australia? Come on, own it.
No. So then I had to go, what am I going to do now? Because that's what I knew and that's what I was. So it's such a vitally important area because it's getting better recognized. I'm getting more and more diverse referrals from diverse medical professionals, and respiratory consultants are really good now at recognizing it. Not some of the old school ones aren't, but we've got new ones coming out. One of them's doing a PhD in dysfunctional breathing, which is a fab. And I've just been on a pediatric course in Brisbane and there were respiratory consultants tuning into that. So it's changed a lot, but I am still, social media marketing, I've got somebody to do a website. I have not looked at it.
I looked at your website this morning and I thought it was beautifully done. I scrolled down to see who did it.
I don't interact with it. I don't, social media, and promoting. And so that is that's my challenge.
Yeah.
But I have, I've been, like, this is my Friday room. so that people can come from Wheatbelt or something. I do telehealth as well, and then Leederville is I'm 2 days in Leederville, which is we've got a customer. And so I'm down there to be closer to people that think coming into the hills is like a major, book a night accommodation
expedition.
journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a challenge. An ongoing
So
challenge.
where do you get most of your customers from? Is it from referrals?
So yeah, so GPs getting better. Consultants, respiratory consultants, neurologists sometimes, not cardiologists generally, but yeah, the odd one. Sports doctors, because a lot of people get issues with exercise. And psychologists, other physios, other health professionals.
So
Or
therefore,
there are a lot of people that have just been told nothing wrong, nothing wrong, nothing wrong, nothing wrong, and then they've just gone desperate Google search.
Yeah. So I mean, what that tells me in terms of promotion for your business is it's not going to go down the path of someone, or it doesn't need to go down the path of someone who needs all the social media promotion, because you've got other channels by which, or other funnels by which your clients are coming to you. So what promotion looks like to you would be different to what it would look like for a Kate, for example, or for me.
Yes.
So it's not that
Yeah.
it's not that you're not good at it. It's actually you haven't needed it and it looks different.
Right.
And the GPs haven't yet discovered me, and they're not sending me any referrals at all.
And yet they should, because retail therapy is very well known.
So,
oh wow.
What has been one of the best decisions that you feel you've ever made? And it could be business, it could be personal.
Coming to Australia and moving to the hills and the lovely community around Darlington.
Yeah, I ditto that.
I reckon. Community is huge. Yeah.
When did you come to Australia? When did you move to Australia?
20 years ago.
So you were 2020? No, sorry, 20
years ago. Yeah. So
2005.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Or November 2004. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. So are there any opportunities or collaborations that you are hoping for, even on the quiet, because we know that you're not out there in social media, for this year, 2025?
Well, I'm on the clinical advisory board for it was Asthma WA, but they're now called Respiratory WA. So asthma is something that I'm very, very, very interested in, because it is so important if you've got asthma that you know how to breathe and you recognize, is it my asthma? Is it the way I'm breathing? Is it, panic at the moment? And there's people that have been misdiagnosed, over medicated, where it's not even asthma, it's something to do with people that exercise and they say, I can't breathe, and it's their upper airway that's closing, and no amount of medication is going to sort out your upper airway. That's retraining. And so it's very, very important that people, A, get a good diagnosis, B, don't just chuck their inhalers out, keep taking them properly. So that's been my soapbox. So yeah, but you need a good diagnosis. And if you're suffering from something that is not being helped by medications, you need to get back and see a doctor. So Respiratory Care WA is a free lung function testing and education. And I would love to be a bit more involved in that in terms of the education, because if we can grab any newly diagnosed person with asthma and go, right, this is how to take the minimal amount of medication that you need, but to be able to be symptom free, because we should be able to be symptom free with asthma if we've got it right. So you'll always have it, but we've got really sophisticated medications now, and yeah, so much of that discomfort with asthma, because if you over that thing I was talking about with closure of the airways, if you hyperventilate, you're going to do that around your airways, and that's because you've hyperventilated. It's not necessarily because you're having an asthma attack. So those things really need educating. So that's why I sort of want to be a little bit more involved, and the exercise side of breathing as well. So sports clubs.
Well, you've put it out there. Put it out there to the universe.
Yeah. So I had a question. So just to be clear, so you treat all sorts of people, doesn't matter, children, teenagers, elderly, people like us, not quite elderly. Right. So anyone, right? If there was any one of our fellow FWIBers, because that's a hard word to say, who felt that breathing for whatever reason was a challenge for them or at times, then they could reach out to you, right, and organise an appointment. Is that the way it works?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how would they do that? Like, how are you going to put your contact links, or is it a website, or what do they do?
Yes, they can go to our website and book online easily.
And your website is
physiotobreathe.com.au.
And that's a
With a
two,
numerical
number 2.
two.
Yes. Yeah.
See, that is one regret in terms of my marketing. I could have had fizzy, and then the O should have been big, and the 2 little, as in oxygen.
Oh my God, that's
well, change it.
Can it?
Just do it.
Why can't you change it?
Just do it.
I could.
Go on. I love it.
Okay.
That would be, you've got to do that. That's
so cool.
You can't leave it on the table.
Opportunity miss, isn't it?
So
yeah, well, it isn't. It's an opportunity because you're going to take it. It's not missed.
And you're not changing the name of your business.
Morgan. This has been very helpful to me. Thank you for my session.
I had another question for you. Tell me, what's the 6 o'clock Darlington go for a run thing?
I'm so glad you brought that back up, Morgan.
I'm not.
Because my last question. Ask me my last question.
What are your top tips and tricks to being at your best? That one? Is that the last question? Yeah, okay.
I have got that last on the list. Okay, never
I've
mind.
got it second last, but when have I ever followed anything in order? Like, that's not the way my brain works.
So we skipped that. That was number 5.
Okay.
Yes. So the basic pillars of health: treat your gut right, drink enough water, community, social connections.
Yeah.
Use your brain, creativity, all those things. Get out in the light, get out in the sun. And what fulfills all of those, apart from the eating, so eat on the run, the running club.
We're pointing at you, Kate. No, sorry.
I know. I have done it in the past.
I went for a run.
So it does everything. And the other thing is doing something for someone else. That is another one of your pillars of good, feeling good, like good mental health stuff. And so it ticks that as well, because we give like whatever donation you want to. It could be just the cost of a cup of coffee, or a little bit more, whatever you feel like. And then at the end of the year, we go, right, what cause should we give that to?
You take nothing from getting out of your warm, cozy bed and teaching people to run and breathe properly and feel better about themselves.
But see, the rewards, and really, we say running, and yes, there are people that do run, but there are lots of people that walk, and it's like they're one opportunity to catch up and chat, and that's fine too. And then every so often I say, right, this is a non-chatty interval now. Let's try 30 seconds of running. Non-chat effort.
Yeah, because running and talking at the same time is problematic. That's my experience of it. That's why I go myself.
Skill of breathing, yeah.
So I've been. So my family, or my husband and daughter is 22. They've decided, because they both want to get fitter, that they're going to do a half marathon later in the year. And I've said I'm not up for the half marathon, no, but I do want to do 10Ks, and I want to run it, and I want to walk it, right? So, and I'm not up for that yet, and I'm not a runner, but I'm on a mission. So I'm going to do it. And we're going to Finland and Norway, where we're going to do lots of hiking, and we're going to have to go lots of stairs. So I've been doing lots of work to try and build up my leg strength and my knees. So, I'm with you.
And actually, if there is seriously, the Couch to 5K app that I think originally started in the NHS, that is the best way of getting into running. It's very well documented, and that's how injured runners get back into running, and people that have never run.
Couch to 5K. My daughter's got an app. She keeps saying it's really cool. Maybe it's that one. I don't want to use an app. Then I'd have to take it with me. I'm not interested. I don't have my phone with me when we run.
You don't need to.
Oh, good. I don't want my phone with me.
Yeah.
I'm in
Yes.
nature.
Be in nature.
Yeah, you're so good. And Pip, you run marathons and do all sorts of ridiculous things, don't you?
I just like going out into the hills and going, look at the view.
Yeah.
And every so often you look at the view and you might trip out on a rock. And I got an
I was going to say, that's what ran through my head, a picture of someone falling over when looking at the view.
It's rare. And I fell over. I didn't have a fall because I am not of that age yet.
No, we don't have falls.
No,
We
that's
fall
what
over.
no, my lovely daughter says that. Ooh, you've had a
Yeah, no.
yes, but no, as I in John Forest, we've got the most beautiful trails. And if anyone wants to go out on the trails and they don't want to get lost and they want to go for a little run, just get in contact.
Poor Pip.
Yeah.
Very good. And very
maybe
simple.
that could be a WIB catch-up group.
Yeah.
Yes, Perth Women in Business. Yes.
Yes. Because when we were doing that running club with you, and this was when you first started it, wasn't it? And at the end of that, we joined the HBF Run for a Cause. And off we went. And we just did, I don't know, what was it? 3Ks, 5? It was very little Ks. Oh, God bless Pip. Everyone, she came back and ran with me. Come on, Kate, you can do it. So
come back.
And you did it, didn't you?
And I did do it. Yeah, I was last by a long way, but you know, it didn't matter. I did do it. So if anybody is thinking, oh, maybe I will go for a run, Pip is a very supportive and very non-judgmental person. Take it from me. Yeah.
We all have fun. And we go for coffee.
And a what? Sorry.
And we go for coffee afterwards sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. And sociable too.
Well, she can run, she can drink coffee, and do sociable. We have everything going on here.
Yeah, she's just a great all-rounder.
And incredibly knowledgeable. I have been fascinated by the information and the stuff that you've told us about. Yeah. And I noticed that you didn't fight when Kate said that you are one of the leading people in this field in Australia. Is that true?
Probably in Western Australia, I was probably the first one that came out and started dysfunctional.
Yes, she said it.
I'm part of a and now we do online all over the world teaching physios about it.
Yeah.
So it's getting much more widely recognized now. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, people just need to be careful about breathing, because it is not about techniques. This is about normalizing a breathing pattern, and there is so much out there, and there is some wacky stuff out there. So just you just have to be a little bit careful with breathing, because there's some interesting stuff. Yeah.
And we are lucky enough to have you right here in Darlington, and access is easy. You've got a great website. So anyone's thinking of, well, maybe my breathing is a bit out, or maybe I do feel, you know, hyperventilating and anxious or whatever, then book an appointment to talk to Pip. She'll she'll blow your mind.
Or if you do want to ask about some of these breathing techniques, because of course it's the basis of a lot of really, really good medicine systems, and it's a basis of a lot of yoga, and there's some fantastic stuff out there as well. So I'm not bagging anything, but you just got to be safe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave the website underneath this somewhere.
Okay.
So
down below. I'm doing it here.
And thank you so much for chatting with us, Pip. You are fascinating and impressive.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, it's been lovely.
Awesome.